On the 26th of October 2024, I completed the world's first playthrough of Borderlands 2 without taking damage. And in this video, I'm going to break down the strategies, tricks, and routing that made this impossible challenge finally possible 12 years after the game's release. I hope you enjoy. But first, what are the rules? And what counts as taking damage? Well, in this run, any hit at all that damages my health or shield bar counts, whether it comes from enemies, the environment, or even myself.
Oh, that's not good.
I won't be using any unique shields or skills that block damage. For example, absorb shields have a chance to block damage when shot. That's not allowed. If I take even a single hit, the run's dead and it's back to the start of the game. And to make things even harder, I'm going to include damage I take in cars and mountable turrets. I won't be sav quitting to avoid damage. If I'm in the middle of combat or there's any risk of getting hit, I won't be quitting out until I'm somewhere safe. Also, no bar, no golden chest, you get the deal. Let's jump into the run. I begin by choosing Axton. He's by far the best character for this, mainly because of his action skill allowing him to deploy a turret which helps with killing and distracting enemies. But there's a not so obvious reason of why he's so powerful for this that I'll explain later. So the run starts and I immediately face my first big hurdle, the fire barrel. I do my best to avoid jumping on it, but listening to Claptrap's dialogue has me tempted. I finish the tutorial section and travel right to the Peak DLC for 2 easy levels, and grab some early grenades while I'm there. Windshield Waste ends up being pretty straightforward since it only has melee enemies I can shoot from a distance. And the Skyrocket one-shots Knuckle Dragger. This grenade's very strong for early game, but its unique flight path makes it risky to use all the time. I nearly hit Claptrap here and ended the run, but luckily he activated his Superman action package and dived under it. With the first map out of the way, this is where the challenge gets tricky. Enemies can start spawning with guns, and since one stray bullet can end everything, I'm going to need a plan. I don't have my action skill yet, so I shoot one bullet and hide up top where they can't reach me. The bandits aggro as soon as I shoot at them, but since I'm far enough away, they eventually de-aggro and forget I blew their friend's head off. I repeat this a few more times until Bullymong spawn and kill the rest for me. I then return the favour by shooting them in the face. After I rescue Hammerlock, he was kind enough to give me a shield that doesn't help at all. But he does have an easy side quest I do to reach level 4. I then head out of Liarsburg with Claptrap and we run into a few camps of bandits. Still action skillless, I throw some skyrockets and play peek-a-boom to clear them out. Speaking of boom, it's time for a boss. Doing this fight in the arena against a giant ass cannon and guns wouldn't last long, so I decide to turn around and jump out. This very complex strategy makes the fight a lot safer, but Big Bertha can still shoot at me a billion miles away. Luckily, while testing strats, I found a perfectly sized hole for my barrel to fit in and shoot Boom in the face. He can't see me from here, which makes this fight pretty trivial. Now time for the best part of early game, blowing up Claptrap. I shoot Big Bertha at him hoping he dies, but instead all I got was a swarm of bandits trying to kill me. I tactically retreat to safety and save quit to despawn them. When I run back I need to kill Boom Boom again, but that hole makes it easy, plus they give good experience. Okay, now that I'm at this point in the run, you're probably thinking, Dark Smoke, how on Pandora are you going to consistently deal with all the enemies with guns coming up? You can't just shoot one bullet and hide for the whole game. Well, to get a better understanding of how I'm going to approach the rest of the game, we first need to understand how enemies spawn and how their aggro works. In Borderlands 2, enemies typically spawn in groups known in the game's code as dens, and most of the time these dens have 2 triggers. the spawn trigger, which spawns enemies when you enter it, and the aggro trigger, which aggroes the enemies, regardless of you shooting at them or not. So how can we use this knowledge? Well, recently a player by the name of Hey Blasty found that if you use the turret to kill enemies while standing outside of their aggro range, they won't actually attack because the turret doesn't actually count as you engaging in the combat. Which means if I know exactly where the aggro trigger is, I can stand outside of it and throw my turret to damage enemies relatively safely. But it's not as simple as walk in spawn trigger and throw turret. Enemy dens come in many different varieties and sizes. They can interact with each other in different ways. Some will even have larger aggro triggers than spawn triggers, making the enemies attack instantly. And with more enemy dense sections of the game, things can get very complicated. An important part of this run is going to be trying to memorize where every enemy spawns and how their triggers work to figure out the most consistent strategy to kill them without getting hit. With that being said though, I won't be showing how I deal with every enemy in the game, since this video would end up being like 10 hours. So if you want to watch the full run, I'll put the playlist down below. But with this newfound knowledge and power, I head my way up to the Soaring Dragon to save Claptrap. I use my turret and shoot multiple bandits while carefully moving through all the enemy dens. I did find a path to skip a few spawns as well, and it only took me 20 minutes of playing like a female dog to become a bona fide badass. I continue forward with Claptrap and do a fancy skip up the ice to avoid all the enemies. Once I'm up, I hoist Claptrap and meet up with Captain Flint, the third boss of the game. And just like Boom Boom's arena, there's no way I'd survive in here. Good thing you can just jump out of this arena too for some reason. Thanks, Gearbox. I then head to a very safe spot where I totally have never taken damage before in a previous run. I start throwing turrets over the wall, hoping Flint doesn't throw anything back at me, but all he did was stare at me through the wall like an idiot. My turret eventually killed him along with the bandits, and I safely secured Claptrap's ship. To prepare for the next area, I farmed Boom Boom for some experience. This farm was pretty safe, but it did take nearly half an hour just to get 2 levels. So I moved on to bully some bullymongs and beat up bandits so I can very legally download a car. Driving vehicles in this challenge is quite dangerous. If an enemy simply touches my car, it takes damage. So I resist my animalistic urges to ram door guy and instead shoot him from afar. Once I arrive to save Reese, I get a surprise rack attack right before reviving him, so he sadly bleeds out and dies. Sorry, Roland. Now the only thing left is bringing back the power core, and instead of slaughtering all the bandits and revenging Reese like a heroic vault hunter, I instead shoot the one guy that drops the core from up top and leave immediately. Happy with my choice, I take a break for 5 minutes and eat my pimento taco from the glove box, while waiting for the power core to despawn and auto-collect. When I get to Sanctuary, I avoid being emotionally damaged by Private Jessup not opening the gate for me by switching the game to 30 FPS. After making some friends in Sanctuary, I then find an echo about Roland being captured by the Firehawk. I figured the commander of the Crimson Raiders could handle himself, so I proceed to ignore it and go do some farming instead. I choose Savage Lee for some safe experience, and RNGesus blessed me with a matching grip Herald on the first kill. After I leveled up and farmed some class mods for a bit, I decided to stop procrastinating and do something useful. I began making my way through Frostburn to reach the Firehawk's lair and actually help Roland. Everything was going smoothly until an armoured spider ant jumps out and corners me, but was no match against my cat-like reflexes and pixel-perfect grenade throw. I let out my victory screech and continue forward, killing more bandits, dodging fire traps, and sneaking up to invincible bruises, until finally meeting the iridium-addicted fire giraffe. There's a big fight with lots of bandits here, so I chill behind this bulletproof blanket and take a nap while my turret does the work. After the fight, Lilith then rudely wakes me from my slumber to fetch her more of that iridium to snort. While she does that, I get a high of my own and reach level 13, which is the perfect level to farm the fastball. a powerful grenade that will help a lot with tankier enemies. After that, I needed a way to get past the Bloodshot Gate, so I met with Ellie in the dust. Normally this area is a short and easy car section, but with this challenge I need to get creative. I can't safely engage in car combat, so I go behind Ellie's garage and crouch under this invisible wall to get out of bounds. I then go around the car's spawn trigger and set up my Counter-Strike grenade lineup to drop corrosive grenades right on top of where they'll spawn, killing them instantly. I collect the car parts and Ellie builds me a disguise to get past the Bloodshot Gate. I managed to sneak in, but they quickly realized I wasn't friendly when I started killing them. This made the nearby bridge troll angry, but he wasn't angry for very long after I pitched a fast ball that knocked him out of the game. We had a few rematches afterwards, but they all ended the same way. So I moved on after hitting level 18 and farmed a new sniper to prepare for Bloodshot Stronghold, one of the harder and more enemy loaded areas in the game. Although with this new skill that adds rockets to my turret, I was clearing through the bandits nicely. At least as well as you can in this challenge. The combat was still painfully slow trying to spawn and take out everyone correctly. I did find some cool tech where you basically bounce and climb on your turret to reach places you normally can't. I do this to go out of bounds and was able to skip one full room of enemies. I then enter Satan's Suckhole, the hardest room in Bloodshot. It's got a slow swirling ascent of high ground enemies and Mad Mike with a rocket launcher at the top. But instead of this part sucking like you'd expect, I actually use a spot I found where I can safely spawn the top enemies without fully being inside the room, which makes this section a lot more doable. And after a solid 40 minutes of fighting through Bloodshot, I finally save Roland and never mind, he's captured again. Well, since I kinda owe him after that Reese situation earlier, I guess I'll save him. Again. I battle my way through Bloodshot ramparts as quickly as possible to catch up to Warden, but with more enemy types like loaders spawning now, I had to stay focused. I was nervous about surveyors since they can fly at me from any direction and catch me with my pants down, so my eyes were glued to the minimap for fast moving red dots. But with the help of this homing grenade I found earlier, I managed to make it through ramparts safely and find Warden. Convincing it to let Roland go was surprisingly easy. All I did was stand in a spot where it couldn't see me and shoot it in the face. After freeing Roland, he then gives me a hand cleaning up the last enemies before we head back to Sanctuary. With Roland now safe, we celebrated, but we can't go out for milkshakes yet. I went to Tundra to wake up Mordecai and put Tina to sleep apparently. Unlike all the other maps so far, Tundra went by quite fast since you only need to kill 3 enemies. Everyone else you can sneak past without being detected. I grabbed the badonkadonks, then Tina and her lady friends helped me blow up a train. I climb the wreckage and make my way through the end of the line looking for the vault key that Mordecai said was up here. I use a mixture of homing grenades and turrets to get to the end and then find out it's all a trap. Wilhelm jumps out and attacks. I break line of sight so he aggroes my turret and I finish him off with a few fastballs after slagging him. I grab the power core and plug it into Sanctuary like my trustworthy friend in my head told me to. I realize that's a bad decision when our shield goes down, so I save quit. Doing so prevents the Hyperion mortars from raining down on Sanctuary, making this attack quite peaceful. The citizens though were still freaking out. I get to Roland and he somehow needs saving for a 3rd time. Really? If he keeps this up, he's going to end up dead. I ignore him since I'm in a rush to deliver this iridium to Lilith. She nearly overdoses but still manages to teleport Sanctuary and everyone to safety. Well, everyone except for me. I've been left behind and need to find my way back somehow. So I do what any reasonable person would and listen to that voice in my head again. I head towards the highlands, like she says, and do a jump to skip some bandits before entering the fridge. This area is interesting, not because it has food, but because it doesn't have any required waypoints. meaning I can just skip all the combat if I can find a way to get past the annoying rats. In later playthroughs, when you've already unlocked the next area, normally you can just fast travel there after entering the fridge. Since I'm in the first playthrough though, I can't do that, but there is another way. I travel to the dust and do the outer bounds I did earlier for the car parts. I climb the hill a bit more and get a good view of the dust. My mission is to get all the way over to this area transition. There's a lot of cars and buzzers that spawn, so I snipe a few of them from a distance, then drive around the edge of the dust to avoid the rest of the enemies. And just like that, we're in the highlands. Once I drive a bit more, I can travel to the outwash, hit a save station and save quit to spawn right at the outwash fast travel, skipping all of the fridge. But if you thought that was cool, what if I told you I can also skip all the enemies in outwash as well? To get to the end of outwash and steal the supply beacon, I need to hit 2 required waypoints, the extraction plant and cross the waterway trigger. To hit the first one, I do that long route through the dust again and come through that same area transition, skipping all the stalkers and loaders at the start. Which, yes, is actually safer than running through these invisible a-holes. I then travel back and drive all the way around the highlands to reach the other area transition and hit the waterway trigger from behind. But just as I'm about to grab the beacon, a gluttonous ground squid eats it for lunch. I use a few grenades and hide behind a crate to take him out. I grab the beacon and take it to Overlook. Normally, during this sequence, you need to defend the beacon from waves of robots while you wait to establish a fast travel link back to Sanctuary. But instead, I'm going to force a failsafe to happen. During this quest, if the loaders break the beacon and you repair it enough times, the beacon will become invincible to help the players out if they're struggling.
Wow, you're really bad at protecting that beacon.
Handsome Jack will then make fun of you and the area will just auto-complete. To force this to happen, I place the beacon in save quit, which causes it to break. I then repair it and repeat this 7 times, causing the failsafe to kick in. And just like that, you can complete Overlook without having to fight any enemies. I meet back up with the team in Sanctuary and we come up with our new plan of attack to steal the vault key. Everyone agreed that I had it too easy in the previous areas, skipping a lot of the enemies, so they sent me to Wildlife alone, arguably the hardest map I have to face in this challenge. To prepare, I farmed Henry to level 23 so I can increase my grenade capacity with Exton skill Grenadier. When I enter Wildlife, I need to kill some invisible a-holes before finding Mordecai. He shows me the plan to rescue Bloodwing and get the Claptrap upgrade. To infiltrate the shipping yard, I need to have 3 loaders wounded before reinforcements open the door. This is very hard to do without taking damage. Luckily, the door will still open if you just kill all the loaders that spawn. This part's extremely scary since there's nowhere to run once the fight starts. The best thing I can do is use the turret while crouching in this one spot, hoping they don't see me, and throw a grenade at them if they get too close. One turret isn't enough for the whole fight, so when it runs out, I'm a sitting duck while I wait for it to recharge. During the run, a loader does pathfind over and scares an egg into my pants, but he didn't manage to shoot me, thankfully. I toss a few nades down before the reinforcements open the door and kill the 2 engineers and quickscope the remaining surveyors. I then infiltrate the shipping yard by avoiding it completely and do some parkour on top of the building to go around it. I continue my ninja parkour route, taking out one group of enemies and climb up this pipe to sneak into one of the bigger enclosures, teeming with life and wonder. Skags prowling in the meadows, their muscular forms built for speed and aggression. But not all creatures here are so bold. The elusive stalkers are hiding in the shadows, blending seamlessly into their surroundings, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And above it all are the Wrack, king of the skies. These winged scavengers circle high overhead. Their aerial dominance ensures no corner of the preserve is truly safe from damage. I decided to kill them all. Up next, I head to the specimen holding cells to look for Bloodwing. I kill the loaders guarding the entrance while on top of this mushroom and go inside. All the animals behind bars were innocent but not Bloodwing, so I killed them too. I find Bloodwing's cell, but I just missed her. Handsome Jack took her out on a shopping trip just moments ago. So I battle my way through the rest of the preserve to reach the shopping mall, killing a few stalkers and skags along the way. The shopping mall was full of angry customers, but I eventually found her. Bloodwing was showing off her new necklace jackboarder, and then Mordecai got jealous and ordered me to beat her. I didn't want to get involved in the situation, but I had to get that claptrap upgrade. A few grenades is all it took to knock her out, then Mordecai decided, if he can't have Bloodwing, no one can. Truly tragic. Back at Sanctuary, I upgrade Claptrap, and since Mordecai is in a bad headspace right now, I went to Thousand Cuts to find Brick. The combat wasn't too scary except for the buzzards. While fighting them, I need to pay extra attention to their health bar. If it gets too low and the buzzard is near me, it could drop airborne marauders right on top of me. I make it past the first two buzzards and I can skip the other two by doing a jump over this gap with the movement speed I get from Onslaught. Now time for the initiation fight. I need to jump down into this enclosed room and fight all the bandits, which I was really worried wasn't going to be possible. After a lot of testing though, I found a really good hiding spot, which is so good that the enemies will actually de-aggro if you hide there long enough, making this fight actually possible. I killed Brick's men and he was impressed with my ability to sit in a corner for 17 minutes and decided to join our cause. I hand him a note that Roland was too lazy to send through the Echo Net and we head back to Sanctuary, only to be interrupted by Handsome Jack raining mortars down onto Slabtown. To get out of here alive, I need to take out the 3 guiding beacons. I know where the mortars will land since they have a set pattern, but the timing of them is still random. So I climb over a building to the first one, avoiding the mortar locations, and destroy it with a brick. I then save quit and get to the second one from behind, and Brick, he just walks through them. He also doesn't mind face tanking all the loaders for me while I bravely hide behind this wall. We take out the last beacon without much trouble and successfully save Slabtown.
Roland. Brick.
Now that Brick is happily reunited with the original Vault Hunters, the only thing left is to figure out how to get past the door that will only open for Jack. I travel to Opportunity to visit the local cosplay convention. I run past everyone that forgot what deodorant was and find a Handsome Jack cosplayer. I politely ask to borrow the cosplay by murdering him, and he said yes. Well, I'm here and now dressed for the occasion. I walk around the convention and listen to the Jack info kiosks so I can learn how to act more like him in this disguise. I quickly realize I should have put the cosplay on later. All the Handsome Jack fangirls are rushing towards me to get my autograph, thinking I'm Jack. I avoid them where possible and kill the ones that get in my way. Getting to all 4 kiosks was a slow process, but after careful positioning and a few butchered fans, I make it to the last one and escape without a scratch on the cosplay. I get back to Sanctuary and Roland asks why I didn't just take the cosplay off to make things easier, and, well, admittedly, I enjoyed the attention I got. Normally people just run away from me screaming when they see my face, so it was a nice change for once. Anyway, I farmed XP, upgraded my gear, and then finally began the assault up to the bunker, with the help of Claptrap. This area is one of the scariest for damageless. There's a lot of compact enemy spawns and awkward uphill combat. When I finally make it to the first constructor, I perform a cool trick to break its AI. After it spawns, I get to this exact spot before it lands, and if done correctly, it will completely ignore you as long as you don't move or crouch. I don't know why this works, but it does. After a full in-game night cycle, I get past the first area, then jump around some mortars and take out the door turrets.
Knock, bitches! Open up!
I clear more enemies, then I hit the spawn trigger for the badass constructor and run away. After it de-aggroes, I cheese it like the other constructor and turn the hardest enemy in this map to the easiest. I kill the remaining enemies and travel to the bunker, which is a place. This area starts off pretty safe with only a single turret alive, but after it dies, loaders and 11 more turrets will randomly spawn around the map. Once I kill the first turret, I travel out to reset the spawns, then use homing grenades to kill the turrets from down below. Doing this means I don't have to fight additional loaders since their spawn trigger is higher up. I also fight the bunker, which isn't a place from down here, by using this rock to block mortars and shoot my corrosive sniper to chip away at its health bar. With the greatest defense spot ever built now destroyed, I take on an even harder challenge. Speaking a special phrase I normally only whisper into the ears of my subscribers.
I love you.
And what comes with my love? Pain. Welcome to Control Core Angel, every challenge runner's favourite area. Well, not really. There's several waves of loaders and annoying turrets that take multiple minutes to just get through normally. A common strategy is to trigger the fight, then run back before the door closes, then briefly open it to shoot before taking cover again. This works very well, but I won't be doing this. Instead, I go to this corner and do a precise turret lineup I found and bounce my way through this very solid wall. I then do the fight here from out of bounds. The spot isn't safer, but I get to talk to Lilith, which is slightly less boring than staring at a wall. After 1 hour of control snore, I take out the third dubstep speaker, which kills Skrillex, and I grab the vault key. But just as I'm about to shuffle on his corpse, Jack shows up furious that his favourite artist is dead. He takes his anger out on Roland, shooting him in the back. He then captures Lilith, so I think fast and deploy my foolproof plan to stand still and do nothing while I watch him taunt me. And it worked. I get teleported out of there safely without taking damage. After the tragic death of Roland and the not so tragic capture of Lilith, I then head to the Hyperion Info Stockade and search for answers. I carefully drive through Iridium Blight, skipping enemies, and travel to Arid Nexus. Just kidding, it's Sawtooth time. The combat in Sawtooth is notoriously hated with its confusing layered map design that's packed with annoying enemies and buzzards. My first objective is to enter Guano Grotto and ascend the elevator. The intended path is chock full of bandits and typically players jump down skipping this section, but I do something different. I get a kill with my turret for speed and jump this gap to sneak past the first camp. I then jump up some terrain to get higher ground and use a turret kill again to make it directly to the elevator shaft, skipping not only the enemies in the first section but also in Guano Grotto. As soon as I hit the elevator button, I run to take cover under these stairs like a scared Harry Potter. I kill the ambush commanders with homing grenades and my turret, which was shockingly easy. After killing all the remaining enemies, I save quit and repeat the first section again, but instead of jumping down the elevator, I head straight over the rocks to the buzzard hangars, skipping another big section of enemies. Once I'm there, I methodically take out every enemy in their respective dens and slowly work my way up to the top. After some scary buzzard encounters, I reach Boombringer and scratch up the paint job to annoy Mortar. The only thing left now is the buzzard nest. This part requires a lot of setup and planning. First, I spec into a skill that gives my turret a shield which blocks a few shots before breaking. I carefully clear out the first area without wasting too much time, then jump down the elevator shaft, bringing the boom to Mortar. When I take the first elevator ride up, my main goal is to hit the objective and immediately go down to kill 3 enemies that spawn at the bottom. After that, I can start dealing with the bandits up top. I ride the elevator up and toss some homing grenades while having the turret shield as backup in case of a stray bullet, before heading back down. Since the shield is fragile and can break easily, I avoid staying up too long. I then repeat this process a few times until all bandits are dead. To kill the remaining buzzards, I run back to Sanctuary and respec into Longbow turret to massively boost my deploy range. I run back and ride the elevator up to trigger the buzzards, then hop off on the way down and start chucking turrets up to the nest, letting them do all the work. Eventually the last buzzard falls and I can safely ride up to steal the explosives, completing Sawtooth without taking damage. With my head held high, I travel to Boneyard where all I need to do is climb this ladder and simply travel to Badlands. I travel to Boneyard where all I need to do is clear out 3 heavily guarded pumping stations to overload the system and ram my car into a pipe to burst it. To get inside the first pumping station, I slide some skags and lay waste to lots of loaders. Once inside, I crank the valves to raise the pressure, then head down an elevator to the second station. Most loaders instantly attack me down here, so I rely on my turret's shield to escape their range and use a few homing grenades to finish them off. For the third pumping station, I use the longbow turret from a safe distance, picking off enemies one by one. After clearing out the final pumping station safely, the pipe's pressure was high enough to burst it with only the breeze from my car driving past it. Now that I've created a path, I ignore it and drive up this rock to Badlands instead, completely wasting the 50 minutes I spent here. But on the bright side, I made it to Badlands and the info stockade is right there. As I head over, I come face to face with a planet-sized robot with strong homing attacks. I hide behind some rocks expecting a long fight, but surprisingly, it died in just 4 turrets. I start praising the turret's abilities, defending it from the hate it normally receives, only for it to be destroyed instantly moments later. This slowed things down a lot, but I kept pushing forward until the whole building was eventually safe. Once inside, I found an access terminal which uncovered the exact location of where Jack was holding Lilith. I rush back to Sanctuary with this new information and begin planning for the final fight. I do a quest for a new gun and head to the entrance of Heroes Pass where a huge door stands in the way. Claptrap heard there was a door and gets a little too excited. So I sit back and kill loaders while Claptrap distracts them and seduces the door. Somehow, Claptrap's sweet talking worked and the door spread wide open for him. Unfortunately though, like most of Claptrap's relationships, this one too quickly ended in disappointment. My relationship with this run, however, isn't over yet. I enter Heroes Pass with 20 hours of progress on the line, and wasn't about to make a dumb mistake now. I made sure every move was the right one, playing slowly and carefully until Mordecai and Brick arrived. They helped with a few waves of enemies, but that sadly ended when they died tragically in the lava. I carried on without them, killing more loaders and doing some scary turret climbing near the edge to parkour around the building. I then go for a very risky jump over lava to skip a lot of enemy spawns.
Oh yeah. That was terrifying.
After barely making it and soiling my pants a little, I kill 2 more loaders and enter the Vault of the Warrior. I buy ammo and mentally prepare for the final fight. My heart races as I enter Jack's cutscene, and before I know it, the fight starts. I begin running away and hiding like a chicken, which has worked well for me so far. A couple turrets was enough to break Jack's shield, and then loaders started raining down from the sky. I keep throwing more turrets from behind cover, and eventually, it was enough to take out Jack. A cutscene plays, giving me some time to breathe, and then it's back into action. I position myself at the edge of the arena to avoid the warrior's first big slam attack. It resurfaces from the lava, and I begin unloading bullets into its crit spot. A few more phases later, while trying not to accidentally shoot a wreck, I deliver the finishing blow. The warrior falls, and after a slow and nerve-wracking 22 hours, I successfully completed the world's first playthrough of Borderlands 2 without taking damage. Something that was once thought to be impossible not long ago had now been done. But if you thought I was done, you'd be wrong. There's 3 difficulty playthroughs in Borderlands 2, and I needed to see how far I could get. So I started the second playthrough, True Vault Hunter mode, and began another journey through the game with stronger and more tanky enemy variants. But if I'm being honest, the combat wasn't that much harder. A big part of my strategy in normal mode was relying on my turret for damage, and now that I had way more skill points invested in it, things kind of evened out against the harder enemies. With that said though, knowing that one mistake could wipe out all of my progress from the previous playthrough, I was terrified. So this really tested my focus and consistency to play as perfect as possible. I won't be going over the whole playthrough since I used mostly the same strategies I did in normal mode. So if you want to check out the full run, I'll put the playlist down below. But after 20 hours of playing this looter shooter like a stealth game, and putting more focus into this than probably anything in my life, I actually managed to make it through True Vault Hunter mode unharmed, now completing a previously impossible challenge for the second time in a row. But as crazy as that sounds, I'm still just getting started. Because up next is Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, the third and final playthrough. Famous for its brutal scaling with enemies that regen their health. Many players criticize it for being way too hard, and some people even stop playing once they get to this point. So the question is, how am I gonna do it damageless? Because even though my turret can still do something to enemies, it just won't be enough. I'll have to ditch the very strategy that made this challenge possible in the first place. And instead, I'll have to start shooting enemies. A crazy concept for this game, I know, but it has to be done. Now that I have a decent amount of skill points, it shouldn't be complete suicide though. The idea I came up with was to speak into Gemini, which allows me to deploy 2 turrets at once. I'd throw one in a safe spot where it wouldn't aggro enemies but could still provide cover with its shield. And the second, I'd throw into combat purely for distraction while I picked them off. And combining this with the meta Lady Fist and B Shield combo, I could kill enemies even faster than the previous playthroughs. Normally using the B Shield late game is a very glass cannon, but since I didn't plan on taking damage, this was the way to go. But how long would this setup work for? Some enemies can break the turret shield and destroy it in a matter of seconds with how brutal this playthrough scaling is, and could end the run in the blink of an eye. But I couldn't think of any better option, so I had to take my chances and hope for the best. For the most part, everything was working quite well. I was clearing through the early areas with relative ease, but in the back of my mind I knew any encounter could end the run with an unlucky spawn. I had a close call with Flint nearly shooting me when my turret was down, but was lucky enough to get it back before he could reach me, and I finished him off through the flames. I continued on making my way through the game with most encounters going smoothly except for the occasional bullet flying past my head. But after a while I finish Frostburn and get to the dust with a good chunk of the game down and think to myself, maybe I can actually take this to the end. And then I get to Badmaw. This boss fight starts with the game teleporting you right in front of him, so I throw 2 turrets down before the cutscene plays to block any immediate shots. And once the fight starts, it ends in an instant. I take damage from Badmaw's first shot that seemingly went through my turret's shield. And after a long 46 hours and 10 minutes, the run was over. My theory on why the bullets went through the shield is Badmaw's gun. He uses a shotgun, and I think 1 or 2 pellets was enough to break the shield, and the rest of them just went past and hit me. Not the coolest way to end the run, but honestly, I'm extremely happy with how far I made it. My original goal was just to beat the first playthrough, and somehow I ended up taking on Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. But that concludes it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't normally do videos like this, so if you want to see more, let me know in the comments and consider subscribing. I also want to give a shout out to Hey Blasty. Without seeing him try this challenge, I wouldn't have been inspired to actually do it myself. I copied a lot of routing from him, so if you're interested in games done without getting hit, go check him out.